Yet another year has passed since we last saw our hero, the hipster Snek, in action. Since then, he quashed a rebellion on a distant island, stopped a volcano from erupting, and danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. Probably. But now we join him anew as he enters the hallowed halls of the Council of Cool, 12 elite hipster snobs who reign over all aspects of pop culture and society. As a collective, they ordain coolness upon, or restrict it from, every element of media. Let's listen in on them now. Well, the ones we could get art assets and voice actors for this year anyway.
Yep, this is definitely what a regular cast of 7 males needs. 11 new named characters, 6 of whom are female. Well, I mean mostly new. Hey, Hipster Tiger, you look familiar somehow. Are you actually just Ditaku in disguise?
Who? I don't know any Ditaku. But if I did, I'd bet he'd be a classy fellow who would be hyper-intelligent, have the right opinions, and be much smarter than you, Snek.
Uh-huh, I totally buy that.
Speaking of buying that...
Oh, hello, Hipster Rat. How mildly annoying it is to see you again. Also, your voice is weirdly familiar from somewhere.
Don't worry about that. I'm doing a charitable service, collecting donations for the tragic victims of Kate's Crossing, Louisiana. I'm calling it the Greater House of Kindness. The recipients of the goodwill we've taken to calling the children under the house.
What happened this time?
What hasn't happened to Kate's Crossing?
Oh-ho, touche. Put me down for $10, I guess.
All right, everyone. That's enough stupid voice actor jokes for one intro. We can do more of those later. Let's call this meeting to order now. Now, on today's docket, we have convened to discuss ever-recurring fandom problem. Which Star Wars story was the best one? Let's discuss. Who would like to start?
I will. It's A New Hope, obviously. It was the first film and set the standard for everything that was to come.
That's a great choice, Dog. What about you, Cal?
Well, I really like Phantom Menace. The sword fights are so fast-paced. I mean, maybe the political drama wasn't perfect, but it's just so kinetic, and I love the memes.
You have interesting taste, Cal. But that's fine. And, well, if I must, I suppose the council will acknowledge Hipster Rat. You know, if I must.
What about The Last Jedi?
I immediately regret my decision, Rat. We've had this conversation. Remember what happened the last time?
I'll say, I spent a week scrubbing the walls of this place just to get the stains out.
Wait, what? I think I was in internet jail the last time you guys convened. What did I miss?
It's not important.
I disagree.
Snek, focus. Stay on topic. So how about you, Hipster Tiger?
Well, that's easy. The holiday special.
I'd like to place a muzzle order on Tiger's opinions in perpetuity.
Motion passes.
Hey!
Well, I agree with whatever Snek says.
Dear, you always agree with what Snek says.
I really like Snake's opinions. A lot.
Well, if you must pry.
We must, Snek. We simply must.
Oh, right. My self-proclaimed arch-nemesis, Hipster Hair. I had almost managed to repress all memory of you.
That's right, Snek. If that is your real name.
And it is.
I wanted to be the star. I wanted to be the channel mascot. And you couldn't let me have that. In fact, I was here years before you. It was supposed to be me, Snek.
I suppose it's just a moot point to ask if you've buried that hatchet, huh?
So, Snek, I'd like to play a little game. I want you to argue your case before the council. You get to try to convince all 11 of us that you had the best argument for which Star Wars story is the best one. Or else.
Or else what, you fluffy nuisance? Oh, pardon me. Gotta take this. Yellow.
Hello, Snek.
Sneckworth, are you on vacation? Hey, kind of in the middle of a meeting here.
No, I suspected as much. And as much as I'd like to say this is a casual call, have a bit of a pressing question to ask. Are you, by any chance, having a spat with hair again?
Oh, is it that obvious?
Well, there's a giant, massive woman dragging the moon out of orbit and down to Earth at catastrophic speeds. The entire planet is once again hanging in the balance. Whatever asinine task he has for you to do, you might want to do it expediently. Also, give Hipster Tiger my best. He is quite the erudite gentleman, and his voice is also delightful to hear.
Right. I'll take care of it.
So now you understand, though.
Don't say gravity of the situation.
Now you understand just how serious I am.
Thank you. So, since I'm on a bit of a literal deadline, I guess, I'll just get straight into things. My favorite Star Wars story comes in the form of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR for those in the know.
Oh, I was kind of wondering how this was going to wrap around to a video game review, but you pulled it off.
Released in 2003 on Xbox Original Recipe and Windows PCs, developed by LucasArts and BioWare, back when people were actually excited for RPGs made by BioWare, it served as a prequel story. Hence the Old Republic found in the game's title. It's set about 4,000 years prior to the original films, though how one can use years as a standard measurement of time in a multi-planet space opera is anyone's guess. Talk about a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
This is simple, Snek. Despite happening on a galaxy-wide scale, Star Wars only has maybe a half dozen planets that actually matter. Seriously, Coruscant, Hoth, Tatooine, Dagobah. It's like everyone who actually matters comes from the same city block.
Ugh. I wish I could send you and Monkey to an isolate swamp planet.
Is this because we roll our eyes every single time you tell us that we should switch to Linux?
No. It's because you bring foul odors into our meeting room, and my nose is the most sensitive among the 12 of us.
Hey, that's just discrimination.
Now, children, I'll put you in one corner and you in the other if you don't stop bickering.
The game kicks off with you making yourself a character. You can pick your gender and then one of 3 classes. The former has no mechanical bearing except some variations in dialogue, and the latter will be your basic stat sheet. As said, this is a role-playing game, so you want to get into your role. Your options are Scout, Soldier, and Scoundrel. Admirable added alliterative appeal there, game. These largely help determine if you're kitted to be smart, strong, or clever. Though you can customize your character and distribute stat points however you'd like to do so, or allow the game to pick a stat loadout, which varies chiefly by what class you pick.
So do tell, Snek, what class did you pick?
Oh, I went all in on Soldier. I decided it would be fun to be the big, beefy warrior class and focused on melee-ranged combat with a specialty in dual-wielding. I knew eventually you'd get to be a Jedi after all, and I wanted twin lightsabers for maximum blender-ish goodness.
Of course you'd go for the class that's rock stupid. It suits you so well, dummy.
I knew you were going to take a jab at me no matter what class I picked, you loudmouthed lousy loud of a logomorph. Anyway, the tutorial feels no need to be subtle as you wake up, jolted to your feet out of your bed, to find that the ship you're serving on as protection is very much under attack by Sith forces. See, just before the events of the game, the current Dark Lord, or the highest-ranking Sith, Darth Revan, had just been struck down by a combined effort of Republic forces and the Jedi Order. So his student, Darth Malak, ascended to power and pushed for massive retaliatory efforts on all fronts, including setting an ambush for your ship, the Endar Spire, specifically targeting Jedi Master Bastila Shan. You then get a pretty solid tutorial where you're allowed to skip certain explanations or ask for more details as you go. This is really well done as intro sequences go, and it's a great way to present the player with all the tools they'll need for their time spent in the game. Also, pour one out for Trask Ulgo. He goes out of his way to help you without any hesitation, and even throws himself at Darth Brandon just to help you escape. And Wikipedia couldn't even be bothered to give the poor guy his own character page.
It's Darth Brandon, Snek.
Close enough. Anyway, his sacrifice gives us the window to get to the escape pod and join up with Karth Onasi and evacuate to the planet Terrace, where the game begins in earnest. And let me back up for just long enough to say that, for a game that's 20 years old, it looks shockingly good.
Oh lord, this game is 20 years old. I felt myself age just hearing that out loud.
If this game was a person, they could legally drink, smoke, and vote.
I know you don't mean anything by it, but it's really not helping.
Yes, it's a little jaggy in that early aughts low poly count kind of way, but it's the correct mixture of good design mixed with great art and an A-plus effort to make the textures blend it all together, between the atmospheric locations all around to the well-done models of the characters. Just solid work. Though, gotta say, points get dinged off the final tally because of all the male faces available in this game, none are smug enough to be a proper representation of yours truly. Not a single red pompadour or even pair of glasses to be seen.
Yes, That's because this is an older game, Snek. Making characters repulsive on purpose is a much more modern trend.
Why hair? If I didn't know any better, one might think you're insulting my snake. And if you did that, purely hypothetically, I might have to pull your silly-looking floppy ears off one by one. And we wouldn't want that now, would we?
Well, Cal, that's an interesting and complicated question. See, I only meant to point out that more modern titles will allow Snek to live out his power fantasies is all.
Oh, wit. That said, the sound design is also gorgeous. First off, they use the classic John Williams Star Wars theme, of course, and some other recognizable tracks from the films, in addition to a whole slew of new ones. This soundtrack is just so good. And the voice casting, I cannot praise it highly enough. Every single member of the cast is really giving it their all.
I should hope so. Everyone who voices a major character but also ends up voicing about a dozen or so less important characters, seeing as almost every single conversation is fully voice acted, which in itself is honestly pretty impressive.
Kind of like us right now, but no one's supposed to notice that.
The overall aesthetic and design sense is spot on. It does give me pause to remember that BioWare used to make good games. Good times. Good times.
Hey, that reminds me. When will you give us a review of Sonic and the Dark Brotherhood there, Snek?
Around the same time you become the channel mascot character, Hair.
Hey, I have a poem for you. Roses are red, violets are blue. The clocks are ticking, and I'm going to annihilate you.
My lightsaber is yellow. My robes are brown. It's over, hipster hair. I have the high ground. Oh, and speaking of, let me touch on some really cool elements of the gameplay. See, there actually is full lightsaber customization. This was actually relatively new to the expanded universe at the time, and the game devs apparently had to fight for it, or that's what documentation online seems to indicate, but they created the ability for one to make their character precisely the way they want in that way. Further, many choices you make lead you closer to the light or dark side of the Force. Heroic, selfless choices moving you closer to the light side, and selfish murder hobo choices moving you closer to the dark. Plus, BioWare's trademark X liked that decision dialogue moments, which would color the two KOTOR games and even the Old Republic MMORPG, which chronologically reside very close to each other.
Let me take a wild guess. You went
Completely light side, yes. Sorry, Hair. My gamer power fantasy really is being a superhero and protecting the innocent to do the right thing. Sorry that I'm not a dime a dozen edgelord like yourself.
I'm not a generic edgelord.
So, let me get this straight. You are presently attempting to demolish the entirety of the planet over being snubbed for the role of cute cartoon animal mascot for a Z-list YouTuber channel, Hair.
You guys are being remarkably calm about this.
You guys do this once a month. I'm pretty sure it might be dictated by the lunar cycle even.
Not for long. Ha ha ha.
He's got a point. We might want to hurry up and make a judgment call on this, shouldn't we?
Right. The main gameplay is kind of prototypically MMORPG-ish in its overall playstyle. You engage combat mode and your character attacks automatically with whatever you have equipped. You can then select special abilities, items, or force powers out of the active menu as you auto-attack. You need to actively move around and select your inputs accordingly. It feels a little stiff by modern standards, but at the same time, it does offer a lot of strategies. This is also true for whoever's in your party at the time. The game actively encourages rapid party management and getting good at putting your units where they'll be the most useful. Tanky characters should always be up front in melee range, DPS towards the middle with their blasters, and the sneaky, devious characters supporting from the rear or the flank, usually. Though that's not to say that the larger-than-life boss battles won't force you to shake up your usual tactics to think your way through. Supremely solid RPG experience. Should I find fault in the Diamond, it would be that, yeah, it's a little stiff and a bit dated. While I'm okay with that, it might be difficult for people not as ensconced in older PC RPGs to get the game feel intuitively. The gameplay is actually identical between PC and console ports, and a lot of encounters will be resolved just by engaging in combat and letting it happen, especially if your skills trend towards higher on cooldowns. But frankly, I like it a lot even. Even if recording this episode ended up becoming a logistical nightmare due to a lot of technical behind-the-scenes things, which fall firmly into the no one cares kind of territory. So you're really only going to see footage from the tutorial of the game, which is fine. I really don't want to give away too much.
What about the plot?
What about it?
You stopped at the first 10 minutes of the game. Tell me, why is the story the best Star Wars story thus far?
Well, that would be going into spoilers, and generally I don't like doing that.
You're going to whine about spoiling a 20-year-old game? You are the biggest idiot on the planet.
Yes, it may be a 20-year-old game, but that's where I have some good news. The game is far from forgotten. If anything, precisely the opposite. KOTOR continues to be ported forward to this day. It's been on basically every Xbox platform. It's still playable on Steam, Android, iOS, and even as recently as the Nintendo Switch. There was a remake in the works at some point, but while I was writing this very script, news drops that is now officially canceled. However, the original game is still very much around and accessible to all who want to play it, and even support the actual companies who made and maintain it to this day. That's something we're celebrating, and not all Star Wars games can claim that either. With that, I've really said my piece on the matter.
So, can I play this on my rig, or can't I?
Based on those tech specs, I think my toaster could play it, but that's just me.
So that's the review, right? We're all done here?
Huh. Well, that was a jolly good show, Snek. But the condition was to convince all 12 of us. And guess what? I'm not convinced at all. Ha ha ha.
That's such a farce and you know it. The 12 of us can't agree on pizza toppings.
I mean, to be fair, some of us are the animals that constitute said toppings, you know.
Say hello to the man on the moon, you 11 pains in the neck, because you're about to get a real good look at him.
Is something supposed to be happening here? Or were you bluffing the entire time? Because if you wasted everyone's time here today...
Honest, any second now. What is taking so long? Giant report!
Oh, and who might you be, little lady?
Now that I have this pawn under my control, my dreams of world domination can resume. I, Snekina, will rule the world, and you'll be my peasants.
Sure, why not?
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
Wow. Snekina Snekovich saved the world, if inadvertently. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Also, does she look a little different to anyone else?
Oh dear. The psychological block preventing him from seeing what female Sneks actually looks like finally came undone.
No. It's okay. He doesn't need it anymore.
You guys thought the line about Sneko and Snekina being larger than Baddoom was some kind of continuity error, huh?
Well, that's that, hipster hair. Sufficiently wasted all of our time after all. What do you have to say for yourself now?
This is not over, you pain in my cottontail. I will come back. I always do.
Yes, keep running away like you always do. So, Snek, what's your final word on this? Since we now have the luxury of time.
Well, I guess this is kind of a lesson for the Star Wars fan community in its own way. You can just like what you like and not make a big deal about things.
What? Are you still salty about being put in bad taste jail for a year?
A little bit, yeah. Anyway, these meetings are stupid, so I'm going home now. Bye.
What a man.
You have very interesting taste, Cal.
Hey, subscribe to my channel.
You can subscribe to my channel too.
Oh my, we were completely ineffectual this year. And poor Lounge Lizard was so bored he slept through the whole episode and got even less lines than usual.
Oh, come now, we were on vacation. We can hardly be faulted for that. Besides, it worked out in the end in its own strange way. Why are you two even here anyway? You do realize this was my tropical vacation?
Hi, my brother!
Snecko.
Is it time for me to find my character motivation yet?
Just get out of my tropical vacation, won't you? So, he didn't believe you either, huh? What can I say? It's thankless work.